Cancer nearly stole my life at 24, so I chose to remove both breasts, and when a jealous coworker mocked my implants and tried to weaponize my past to get me fired, I did not back down. I walked into HR with medical records, 16, signed witness statements, and a contract clause demanding an impartial review, and by the end of the day, she was the one packing her desk while I kept my job. Coworker tried to get me fired over breast implants, so I played my reverse no and got her fired instead 4 years ago, when I was just 24. Cancer shattered my world. My mom died of breast cancer that year, just like both my grandmothers before her. Grief wasn't new to me, but this time, it came with a warning. I decided to get screened, and the results sent a chill through my bones. My doctors found potentially cancerous cells in one of my breasts. Due to my family history, the risk wasn't just theoretical, it was practically a ticking time bomb. I was given 3 choices. 1. Regular screenings every few months until it became cancer, if it ever did. 2. A single mastectomy on the affected breast, plus ongoing monitoring on the other. 3. A bilateral mastectomy, removing both breasts entirely and all but eliminating the risk. After watching cancer devastate my mom, I didn't hesitate. I went with the third option. I chose survival, but no one warned me about the scars. The surgery left me with deep, jagged reminders of what I'd lost, 2 angry pink slashes that made me feel like a Frankenstein version of myself. I threw away my mirrors. I stopped leaving the flat. My reflection made me physically sick. It wasn't just my body that had been altered, it was my identity. Therapy helped a bit, but even my therapist eventually admitted that maybe, in my case, cosmetic surgery wasn't vanity, it was healing. I tried creams. I researched laser treatments. Eventually, I went to a plastic surgeon who offered implants as an option to both restore my shape and cover the scars. So I did it. I went from my natural F cup down to a DD, and with it came something I hadn't felt in years: relief. I could wear clothes again without crying. I could look in the mirror and see me, not trauma. My mental health improved drastically. Fast forward to present day. I'm 28 and working in a fairly normal office job. My coworkers didn't know much about my past, and I liked it that way. But that peace was short-lived because of Jill. It started with a harmless joke. An old friend of mine from before my surgery and I were planning a holiday, and she made a dumb comment about me floating on the plane with those things. Jill overheard, and by the end of the day, everyone in the office knew I'd had a boob job, but they didn't know why. From there, it got toxic fast. Jill made snide comments weekly, sometimes daily. Plastic Barbie, sack of silicone, and fake in more ways than one were just a few of her greatest hits. I asked her for times to stop, but always in private areas like the women's bathroom or the lift, places with no cameras and no witnesses. And she never did. It wasn't just mean, it was relentless. It felt like I was being stripped naked in front of everyone. My most vulnerable experience turned into office gossip. The final straw came at lunch one day. We were with a few co-workers casually chatting when I made a passing comment about something being shallow. Without missing a beat, Jill gestured to my chest and smirked. "You'd know all about being shallow." Something in me snapped. I put down my fork, looked her dead in the eye, and calmly said, "Do you know why I have these?" I had potentially cancerous cells in my breast tissue. I watched cancer kill my mother and both grandmothers. I chose to remove both breasts to save my life. The scars that surgery left were so horrific I couldn't look at myself without breaking down. So yes, I got implants not for attention, but because I wanted to be able to live and to recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. So maybe next time you want to judge someone for getting surgery, you should ask why first. I picked up my lunch and walked out. That should have been the end of it. But Jill ran straight to HR. The next day, I got an email from HR about a complaint regarding a hostile work environment. And I knew Debbie from HR, Jill's best friend, was behind it. If Jill was trying to get me fired, I wasn't going down without a fight. I remembered a clause in my contract, something about requesting a different HR rep if I had reason to believe my assigned reviewer was biased. I found it, printed it, and highlighted it. Then I got to work. I reached out to the coworkers who'd offered support after the lunchroom incident. I asked if they'd be willing to write signed statements detailing the things Jill had said. 16 people said yes. Some even included bullet points of every insult Jill had slung toward me, and others, anti-Semitic remarks, body shaming, mocking someone's disability. Jill had apparently been equal opportunity awful. The next morning, I walked into HR prepared. When Debbie called me into the meeting, I turned to the other HR rep and said, "Is my meeting with you then?" Debbie said, "No. You're with me." I pulled out the highlighted contract. "I'm requesting an impartial overseer, as per my contract. I'm aware the person who reported me is a close personal friend of yours." Debbie tried to protest. I stood my ground. Eventually, a supervisor got involved. I calmly handed over my folder copies of medical records which HR already had permission to view, signed statements from 16 colleagues, the timeline of my complaints, and a list of witnesses from the lunchroom incident. They grilled me for half an hour, asking the same questions in different ways. I answered every single one with receipts, timelines, and names. I laid it all out. Jill's harassment, her obsession with my body, and her public shaming of me for a surgery that saved my sanity after almost losing my life. Then I went back to my desk, heart pounding. I figured I'd just bought myself a bit of time before they asked me to pack my things, but then HR started calling people in. First the lunch witnesses, then everyone who had written a statement. They were gone for 10-15 minutes each. Then finally, Jill got called in. She came back red-faced and fuming. She threw daggers at me with her eyes. An hour later, she was called in again. At 2 p.m., Jill came storming back into the office. She started packing her things in a rage, muttering that I'd got her fired and ranting to anyone who would listen. I didn't say a word. Just then, an email from HR landed in my inbox. "Your case is closed." No further action was being taken. I kept my job. Jill lost hers, and while people keep telling me this wasn't a real reverse-no card, I'd argue this was the best play I've ever made. Moral of the story: don't mess with people just because you don't know their pain. And if you decide to harass someone in the workplace, maybe don't pick the one who's organized enough to bring receipts, witnesses, and a legal clause to the table. Just a served implants of edmisty reverse unerone toward word.